Cats and Dogs 3. I watched this movie purely out of curiosity, as it kind of came out of nowhere. The first Cats and Dogs movie was released in 2001 as a big summer tentpole, and it offered a somewhat clever spin on our idea of a rivalry between cats and dogs. Now, personally, my cat and dog get along great, but you know the classic trope that cats and dogs are rivals. So the movie suggested that when humans aren't looking, cats and dogs are engaged in undercover spy missions and antics with plenty of cool state-of-the-art technology in a battle for control of the world. Cats and Dogs did mediocre at the box office, meaning Warner Brothers wasn't in any hurry to make a sequel, but apparently the movie did well enough somewhere, whether DVD sales or cable ratings, that we did eventually get a sequel, The Revenge of Kitty Galore, 10 years later. That film actually had a bigger budget than its predecessor, $85 million compared to $60 million, yet it grossed about half of the first movie's take at the box office. So it looked like the franchise might be dead. Apparently not. Because we get one of these every 10 years, like the Toy Story movies, Cats and Dogs 3 Paws Unite has arrived, but in a much different way. It was quickly filmed from late January to mid-February, which has me wondering how much of its production and post-production was affected by COVID-19. Because this movie looks very low budget for a studio film, even a direct-to-video one, but more on that in a second. In Cats and Dogs 3, dogs and cats are being manipulated by a wireless frequency, making them more aggressive toward each other and humans. We discover early on that the villain behind all this is Pablo the parrot, who believes if he can turn humans against cats and dogs, other animals like him, like lizards, snakes, they'll have a better chance at being adopted from pet stores. So Gwen the cat and Roger the dog must lead a B-rate team to stop the parrot before he can carry out his dastardly plan. And of course there's a subplot about Gwen's and Roger's human teenage owners. But the title of the movie isn't Cats and Dogs and Humans. You're here for the animals. And if you like the first two Cats and Dogs movies, you're also here for the spy antics. Unfortunately, Cats and Dogs 3 bears little resemblance to its predecessors. None of the main cast or characters return, except they do name drop Mr. Tinkles and Kitty Galore one time. There's very little spy gadgetry this time around. It's a very low budget movie. In the first two films, it was kind of fun seeing the animals fight each other and stand on two legs and ride jetpacks and such, even if the CGI didn't always look real. But in Cats and Dogs 3, the spy office is like a basement. There's not a lot of gadgetry. The film has a message about kids today relying too much on technology like smartphones, and it kind of celebrates older technology. And I honestly think part of the reason is that, you know, the filmmakers, they were trying to justify or give an excuse why the animal characters here don't use a whole lot of new smart technology. For instance, this time around, they don't even use video conference calls. Instead, the animals get their orders from a landline phone that's just lying on a table, and the dog and the cat just stare at it. And the biggest piece of spy gear that the animals use is a smartphone and a robotic dog that's really just a real dog with some CGI overlaid on his eyes every once in a while. And let's talk about that CGI. It's very minimal here, used mostly to make the animals' mouths move. There are no attempts at fully CGI animals except for a couple of very, very quick shots. When the animals need to pick up or move an object, the movie usually just does a close-up of obviously fake paws picking up the item, and it looks about as believable as the fake paws used for Triumph the Insult Comet Dog in one of his late-night sketches. That said, let me be fair here, because, again, I'm wondering if the movie was disrupted by COVID-19, I'm talking about the production or the post-production, due to the timeline of when this movie was made, because there are some outside shots in the movie that look mind-blowingly low budget, especially for a movie released by a major studio. There's a shot of a dog on a roof, and you can literally see the green tinted glow of the green screen on the dog's fur. I mean, if the effects look this bad due to COVID-19 disrupting post-production, Warner Brothers really should have pushed that release date. I mean, maybe they thought, well, this isn't the Batman or Dune or Wonder Woman, kids won't care, you know, maybe they thought that. But even if the first two Cats and Dogs aren't classics, I mean, this one is a pretty big step down in quality. The humor here is aimed at the lowest level with a fart or a pee joke every 5 minutes. Gone also is the celebrity voice cast. The only celebrity here is George Lopez, who actually does a pretty decent job as Pablo the parrot. I know I joked that no one watches a Cats and Dogs movie for the humans, but the subplot about Roger the dog's owners, Zoe, and her dad Ollie, is actually one of the movie's better aspects. The dad, Ollie, is a washed-up music artist. He's unable to pay the bills, so he takes a lower-paying job, and this means he and his daughter Zoe have to move to a smaller apartment, unfortunately one that doesn't allow pets. That said, that subplot does have an unintentional running gag. Zoe has written a song that could be a big hit for her and her dad, maybe one that will help their financial situation get them back on the charts. And the movie builds up to her performing the song a couple of times, but every time she starts to sing, the movie cuts away to something else. And it's not intentionally played for laughs, but it's almost like a running gag. I mean, the movie will build up and build up, and then she'll start to sing, and just as she opens her mouth and hits those first notes, it cuts away to something else. And it's really, again, unintentionally comedic in a way. Look, Cats and Dogs 3 is disappointing. I don't know who this movie is for. Maybe the same crowd who liked the Air Buddies movies, but there's so little action due to the budget, and there's so much talking that I can't imagine this movie holding a lot of little kids' interest. Or their attention. If Cats and Dogs 3 is this bad due to it being made during a pandemic, the studio should have just said the heck with it, we'll release the movie next year. I mean, or even this December, give it a couple more months in post. And I get that they're trying to make a quick buck, and I understand that Cats and Dogs isn't the best family franchise, but Cats and Dogs 3 isn't even up to the low standards of some of those 90s direct-to-video movies, like, Richie Rich's Christmas Wish, talking about as far as production design. I can't believe I'm saying this, but the movie seems more like an asylum mockbuster of the first Cats and Dogs than a legit sequel released by Warner Brothers. I take no pleasure in giving bad reviews, but if I have to be honest here, I'm afraid I have to give this movie 1 out of 4 stars. I tell you, just watch the first Cats and Dogs movie. If you really love it, maybe watch the second one, it's okay. And I guess we'll see how Cats and Dogs 4 turns out 10 years from now. If you enjoyed this review, please click like and subscribe, follow me on Twitter. Until next time, this has been Josh with Movies Please. Thanks for watching.